Welcome to episode 45 of the MMG podcast. I am Chris, and unfortunately today we are going to be without my friend Gocubs for this particular podcast. He has a very busy week, completely understandable. Shit happens, and we'll move forward into next week hopefully with him aboard for our week 15 podcast. But for now, it is week 14. And now we are entering the final 4 games of the year. We are 3/4 of the way through the 2018 season, and it has been a lot of fun. And this past Sunday, I think, is the best indication of we don't know shit until things actually happen for real, so we can predict anything in the world, and nothing, it won't mean anything until we actually see it happen. But it's always fun to do these exercises, and we're gonna get to the picks. Obviously, we have with Gocubs not being here, he had to send me his picks, and we have, I think, the most disagreements this week, more than any other week in the year, and we may look back at this as a turning point in the picks competition as well. So it's a big weekend with a lot of big matchups as well, and a lot to look forward to, NFL wise, on the field wise. But we're gonna start off on a more serious note, because I mean, let's face it, it's been a rough week for the NFL. While the on-field product has been great, the ratings have been up. One thing that has consistently been an issue for the NFL over many years has been the issue of domestic violence. And yet again, we had quite a few incidents / confessions happened within essentially a week. All of last week was really, there's a lot of stuff happening, and probably the least talked about story, and I was surprised that it did not get as much traction as it did, was that there was an article, I believe, by Bleacher Report that kind of showcased Adrian Peterson, did a little feature on him, and his quote-unquote redemption season. And in the article, he essentially admits that he still beats his child. Now, I get a lot of people are on the front of, well, if it's his child, then, that's his child, that's how he parents, and we shouldn't be up in arms about that. I think in today's society, that's not acceptable, and having been around people in my life who have experienced that and what that did to them mentally and even physically, it really makes me sick to my stomach. And the fact that, I mean, he says that he doesn't use the main weapon that he really got in trouble for anymore, but I just, it's not something that you want to really air out there. And it was just not a good look for him, and it was not a good look for the league when they didn't really come out and comment on it. But I mean, again, I guess they were just like, well, let's just brush this under the rug, and it's not good. Let's not make this a big deal. That what he does, I guess really they're saying is that what he does is his business, and no one should be really upset about it, which, again, I think people are deservingly upset, but whatever. It's that was one thing that happened, and that happened the weekend of Thanksgiving, or around then. We didn't talk about it on the podcast because didn't really feel like it was going to end up having much relevance, until that weekend also had Reuben Foster released by the 49ers, and it was because he was arrested yet again for domestic violence issues, which has been a very much a common thing in his career, a constant, for some reason, just not getting out of his own way when it comes to these crimes. And finally, the Niners had enough, and they released him, or I should say, put him on waivers. And out of nowhere, with the waiver system, any team could pick them up. And only one team apparently, decided to put in waiver claims for him, and it was the Washington Redskins. And I mean, to me, it's absurd. It's absurd, especially with him not really performing on the field, too. So it's not like this is like this superstar that they're picking up. I think because they're like, oh, he was a first-round draft pick, so I guess we should pick him up because he sure is going to have first-round talent if let's say all this stuff clears out of the way. But to me, it was just not a risk worth taking. You could have waited for him to have, I guess when everyone gets up in arms about like, oh, how dare you make someone unemployed and keep someone unemployed. Well, like, you gotta let due process play itself out. We're like, okay, yeah, let's have due process play itself out. And then once we figure out like, oh, he's innocent, or oh, it wasn't as serious as we thought, or whatever conclusion that the police department's going to come to, and then make a decision on what you want to do with him, then I mean, I don't understand why you couldn't have just waited and why you had to pick him up right away. And to be the only team to do that is it's just depressing, that no one's kind of realizing like, hey, maybe you shouldn't have done that. Maybe we should have just been patient and see what happens. And Doug Williams, by the way, he's a legend, being the first black quarterback to ever win the Super Bowl. But he had just a stupid remark in a press conference following the signing, basically saying that there's guys in the league that have done much worse, so let's not make a big deal about this guy being picked up. On one hand, yes, he's right. There has been guys who have been accused of much worse that are continuing to play in this league, and that's on the NFL, and that's on the teams that hire those people. But you're just basically saying, oh, these guys did much worse, so we're just gonna keep on adding to that issue. We're gonna keep on building on the fact that we have these bad people in the league, but they're talented, so it doesn't matter. It was a stupid remark, and he came out and apologized afterwards. And I do think that's a mentality that probably a lot of teams have. And now this all is even before the biggest news of the week, and probably the bombshell of the season, which was Kareem Hunt. Now, back in the wintertime, prior to or after the Super Bowl, and prior to the scouting combine, I think, and prior to the free agency and all that, there was a report that came out that said that Kareem Hunt was involved in some sort of altercation at a hotel. Now, nothing really came of it. There was no charges against him, and the league, I think, was looking into it, or didn't maybe announce that I was looking into it at the time, but it was not made into a big deal as much as you would think. Like, it was not Ezekiel Elliott 2.0 where that was kind of really talked about throughout an entire off season, and are they going to suspend him, or are they not going to suspend him, like what's going to happen. It wasn't quite like that with Hunt. But then comes Friday, and all of a sudden TMZ drops a bombshell by releasing the hotel surveillance video of Hunt shoving and kicking a woman to the ground in the lobby, or in I guess a hotel hallway, because I feel like if it was the lobby, it would probably be more public. But clearly, if you've seen the video, it's not good. It does not look good. And it's insane to me that that TMZ was able to get this video and the NFL doesn't. The story by the NFL is that police did not want them to have the video, and the hotel, their policy was that they can only hand it over to law enforcement, not to the NFL. I don't understand, though, if sure, TMZ probably paid someone to hand over that video, but it is weird to me how the NFL could not get their hands on it, and even if they couldn't, why not release a statement about that? Why not say, I don't know, I just think that the NFL should be more transparent about these investigations. If they're going to be the ones leading these investigations, they need to be so much more transparent about the process, and they need to be like, well, it looks like the police department or the hotel is not going to give us video, and so we're missing evidence. Supposedly, they did try to contact the victims. They did not return their calls, and that's depressing. I understand that on some way, because if you're a victim of domestic violence, sexual assault, or anything, especially by someone of popularity, someone that is huge in the country or in the world, and you say, oh, hey, I'm a victim of this, and you're speaking out against them, then that could really bring a lot of death threats to you. And I that sounded like I was laughing. I'm not. It's just like, it is insane to me that we live in a society where we're so gung-ho about protecting the people that are famous, and that we wouldn't just try to trust the victims. And I get it when they don't come out to the NFL and they say, hey, this story, I was affected by this, but sometimes that we have now built a society where victims are scared to come out because they're worried about the repercussions, and that should not be the case. It's ridiculous that has to be the case in this world. But I digress. But the evidence is now out there. The video is completely out there, so I hope that if whoever was affected maybe does come out now and talk about it. We have not heard anything yet. Another flub by the NFL was that they did not interview Kareem Hunt at all about this incident. They had months. They had months to interview Hunt, and they did not do it. That's insane to me. How could they not take the time, with all the fucking people that work in the NFL, get two people in a room with him to grill him? This is supposedly what you're trying to do as a league, is to be investigators of what they do in their private lives, and especially if they're going to be doing horrible shit like he did, and you're just not gonna do it because you don't think the charges, there's no charges filed, so you just think, well, maybe not. You said that you're doing an investigation. You should have been doing an investigation, and it's utterly horseshit that they completely blew it again. I do question the police department too. I think that they say it was a misdemeanor, and maybe the people did not want to file charges. I don't know. If you look at the video, and someone should have looked at the video, even if you weren't going to press charges. Supposedly they were saying that they did not look at the video, which is insane to me. I don't know. The idea that they just decide, oh, hey, we're gonna keep this video. We're not gonna share it with anyone, and we're gonna look at we just assume that it's just gonna be a misdemeanor charge, or it's not gonna be any major charge or anything. So we're just not gonna view evidence at all. Nah, no big deal. Give me a break. But yet again, the NFL embroils itself into controversy, and really, they have no one to blame but themselves. They claim that they want to fight back against domestic violence, and they want to fight back against these crimes against women and children and people that and want to fight back against these actions done by their players in the league. But time and time again, they show they don't give a flying fuck about you, about anyone outside of who's playing in their league. And especially if that motherfucker's talented. Kareem Hunt's going to be in the commissioner's exempt list, and so is Ruben Foster. They're going to get removed at some point. They're going to be given their suspensions, and then, sure enough, a team is going to sign them, and they're going to be back in the league, and then we're going to be praising them up and down yet again. And I'm a hypocrite of it. I've praised the play of many people who've been accused and been charged and have been suspended in the league. We're all hypocrites who watch the sport that analyze it for praising these guys when they're not really good people. But we need to do a better job of that. We need to do a better job, and especially the NFL needs to come out and hold itself accountable and say, we need to do better. We need to do better at protecting people. Even though I get it, that may not be their job, but too many times they have let these players get away with shit and just let them have their 6-game suspension and then come back. It's absurd. They need to hold themselves accountable, and they need to say that we are part of the problem. And the day they do that is the day that pigs fly. Alright. Got that out of the way. Sorry for the serious subject. But that was the big news of off the field news of the of last week. And look, I'm open to criticism of my argument. That was mostly rambling, so I was hoping to write something down beforehand, but I just decided to wing it. But I'm so sick and tired of talking about this stuff. And hey, it may take an NFL boycott in order for them to wake the fuck up. I don't know, but we'll see how it plays out. Let's talk real quick about another big story that happened after the game. You know what? Actually, no, I'm gonna hold off on that because I'm gonna be talking about one of those teams involved in the game in Green Bay. That was where the other big news happened, but we're gonna hold off on that because I want to get to our game of the week, and I want to talk Chargers at the Steelers. It was a wonderful game that at first seemed like it was not going to be that great. The Steelers went out to a decent lead, a 16-point lead over the Chargers, and it felt like the Steelers were certainly getting Antonio Brown in the mix. He was having a great game. The defense was getting to Phillip Rivers. And then Justin Jackson happened. And this kid completely was insane. He just was running through players as if they were not even there. And it was just an incredible effort on his part. And it made the game a lot of fun. And the Chargers were able to come roaring back. They did get some penalties in their favor. Block in the back was not called on a punt return for a touchdown. There was also there's a few there's a false start call on a passing touchdown that was not called. It was blatant. It was yet another time this season where a Charger was not called for false start. The first official that blew that call got fired. So sorry for whoever missed that call on Sunday, because you may be getting a pink slip. And the Steelers, they did come back to tie the game. But then in the weirdest of ways, it came down to a field goal, and it seemed like the Chargers were playing for a field goal, in which case I don't understand why, but I think they were realizing that the Steelers' defense was stiffening, and it was going to be difficult for them to keep the ball moving, so they might have as well just try to get the field goal in there, and to put your trust in Michael Bagley, who's not really proven himself a lot. It was a risk, and it paid off. But it took 3 offside penalties by the Steelers. Multiple times they just kept on penalizing them, and it was like, and these were blatant fouls, by the way. This was not like accidents on the ref. In the every single play was an offsides. It was strange to watch, but nonetheless, the Chargers finally got the kick in, and they won 33-30. It was a great game, and we could see the rematch come in the wild card round potentially. I think that's where it seems like it's going. But anything can change right now. On that front, the Chargers now are 9-3, and they're looking good to make the playoffs. I think it's gonna take at least 1 or 2 more wins to really solidify it. Certainly 2 wins will solidify it. And they got the Bengals this weekend, so that they should take care of business this weekend. But you never know. But this is it's gonna be big for them to get the double-digit wins at the very least. And I think 1 more win should hammer it in. That should at least clinch the 5 seed for them. The Steelers, in the meantime, they want to just make sure that they can hold on to their division, because they got a tough schedule down the stretch. Still have to face the Patriots and the Saints. And the Ravens are kind of on their tail right now. They're currently only a half a game below them. So the tides can change in the AFC North here, and the Ravens could retake the lead in the division. And I think they could easily do that if they can win out. But the Ravens also have a tough schedule as well, so we'll see. The AFC North, though, is going to be a tight race, and we'll check in to see how that plays out as the weeks go on. Now we go to the blowout of the week. We'll talk briefly on this. The Niners at the Seahawks, and it was the first time that either of these teams made the blowout list, probably because I guess the Niners, one of their blowouts was a victory for them. But I guess, that wouldn't matter. But I guess they haven't really been part of a lot of blowouts this year, or if they did do a blowout, another game was much worse. But they lost big to the Seahawks in Seattle. The Richard Sherman revenge game did not go in Sherman's favor, even though the Seahawks paid quite the tribute to him in a touchdown celebration during the game. But look, basic point it down the line right here. The Niners just got eliminated from playoff contention, which we knew was going to happen. And the Seahawks are 7-5, and they're looking good on all faces, really. Like they're not really that weak at any particular position, and I don't know. I look, their running game is getting going with kind of a running back by committee type thing. Specifically though, Carson's looking good. The Seahawks are having, they have the weapons to keep going, which we did not think was going to be the case, but they're playing well, and you have the defense, a young defense that's playing well, and I don't think this team is a Super Bowl team, but they're good enough to rattle off some wins. The only team that I think that they don't really have a great chance of beating is the Chiefs, but if that's in Seattle, they could probably do that. But they have the Vikings this week in Seattle. They have to go to San Francisco the week after that, then the Chiefs in Seattle, and then they ended off with the Cardinals. I don't know. It's not out of the question, I don't think, for us to see Seattle be in the playoffs. I think they're in great position to at least be a wild card. Well, they have to be a wild card now because the Rams clinched the playoffs this weekend, or clinched the NFC West. They clinched the playoffs as well, but there's more to it. So they'll at least have a home game at some point in the playoffs. Now, whether that is a bye, that could be decided this weekend. But they're looking good. But right now, the Seahawks, they're going to try to make the playoffs as well, and we'll see how that goes. Then the team chaos of the week, and there was a lot of team chaos. We talked about it earlier, how this was a week where really you question your knowledge, and this was a tough one to decide on. And I think I decided to go with Bears Giants because it was me and Gocubs as our two teams, and it was also, I think, just the biggest shock of the day, because I think the Cowboys Saints came very close, but I felt like the Cowboys were at least a good team now. We can look at them as a good team, that they're a contender. The Giants are out of it, and they were in at home, of course. But Odell Beckham had a game for himself. He almost blew it with a muffed onside kick. Kind of was trying to to bat it out of the field, out of bounds. That's the word. But instead of jumping on it and recovering the ball and ending the game right there, and the Bears recovered it instead. The Bears had a nice comeback, and Tariq Cohen what a wonderful game he had. But it was just not enough, and the Giants pulled it out. And my worry about the Bears is that their defense gave up a lot to the Giants, who are not known for offense. But they do have two of the best playmakers in the league. So, sometimes it's hard to keep up with that. To me, it's like, I don't look too low on the Bears now. I think it's maybe just one of those games where things just don't go your way. But, anything could change that. And, you think about the Panthers a few weeks ago when they lost big to the Steelers. You're like, oh, okay, well, that's one of those games, it doesn't go your way. And then even after the Lions lost, you're like, oh, well, it's, the Lions, they're frisky. They'll beat you. But, not the season's not dead yet. And then they lost to Seattle and then to Tampa Bay, and now they're 6-6 and probably gonna end up missing the playoffs. Yeah, so that's how quickly things could change in the NFL. So I will cross my fingers for the Bears on that front, that they can, they could pull through. They don't have a terrible schedule. It's not gonna be easy. And especially this weekend is going to be tough with having to play the best team in the league right now. But they do have the Niners and the Packers, which I would say should be wins. But it is Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in that mix, so I'm like, I don't know. And then the Vikings is going to be a tough battle, because I think that the Vikings are just going to be in it till the end. So I think the magic number for the Bears is 2. They got to win 2. If they win 2, I think they're going to make the playoffs at the very least. As for the Giants, hey, it's getting a little frisky. You're a little frisky. I like it. Most surprising and most disappointing team. So, since Gocubs is not here to provide his own, I decided to do 2 each to kind of broaden the scope of the amount of games that we talked about. And we're going to start with most surprising being the Dallas Cowboys. And I think a lot of people on Thursday, prior to the game, were like, this could go our way, or could not our way, Jesus, could go to the Cowboys' way, could end up being a team that could, beat them, but no one really wanted to push that trigger. And sure enough, the Cowboys dominated the game, and it was close, but the defense was phenomenal. And Leighton Vander Esch, my God, I love Boise State. They're my college team, even though I never been to Boise State. I don't have a college football team because my college that I went to doesn't have a football team. So I attached myself to Boise State, and I remember watching Leighton Vander Esch with Boise State. He was like the main guy on the defense. He was the guy that basically took over every play, and he's doing the same now for Dallas. And it's been an incredible journey for him and Jalen Smith, who came back from that terrible injury. I know we've been talking about both of those guys all year long, but it's true, and it was especially true in this game. They played out of their minds, and the secondary played well too. This whole Saints offense that was seen as unbeatable was beaten badly in this game by Dallas. It was such an incredible effort. Drew Brees had one of his worst games. To be honest with you, I don't even look that down on the Saints after this one. It was a rough performance, But I just think that the Dallas Cowboys have found their mojo, and Amari Cooper has opened up that offense big time. I know we've been saying that exact phrase for weeks now, but it's fucking true. Amari Cooper, you know what? I think I can admit now, and I'll raise my hand in a minute. I would love to get Gocubs on here on the record as well on this. That I've said that I like the trade, but I still didn't like the first round pick. I like the first round pick now. That now knowing that the Cowboys are going to be not only in the mix, but they feel like it feels like they could be a Super Bowl contender now with the way that they've been playing. I like that trade big time. And Jerry Jones and Jason Garrett collectively helped their images over that week of getting Cooper together in there. It was an excellent trade. And it makes you wonder now, go back to the Raiders and you're like, well, did you fuck up another trade after all this? Because I'm wondering now, like, if they don't get something good for that first round pick that they got from the Cowboys, why the fuck could you not get Amari Cooper going? I don't know, man. That's incredible to me, though. And I good for the Cowboys that they seem like they're going to be the ones that are going to roll in this NFC East. They should win every game at this point with the way they've been playing. But we will see. They have the Eagles this weekend, then they have the Colts, the Buccaneers, and then the Giants. That isn't a winnable schedule. They should be in every single game they play in. By the way, just going off of the way they've played the last few weeks, especially, that they should be in every game they play in. The other surprising team to me was the Arizona Cardinals. And I think Josh Rosen, he didn't have the best game. But the defense had a hell of a game in snowy Green Bay. It was just, they brought the house, with the way that they've been playing. And I don't know. I feel like the Cardinals are. There's been rumors that Steve Wilkes is on the hot seat. I would love to see him go another year, and I would just want to see how this team goes. I think that they have young talent that can work out for them going into next year. And I think that right now the draft class is not doing as great as you'd want, so maybe you would consider a general manager change. I don't know how much dysfunction you really want in your organization, but maybe get someone that's in there that would work well with Wilkes. I know that's hard to judge ahead of time, but maybe just someone has experience with him. And man, yeah, and then you have a outstanding draft. Get that offensive side of the ball, especially the offensive line. Get that built. This is a team that could compete next year, I think. And I think that Rosen's starting to get there. Well, again, we'll see how that all plays out for them. But it was a promising game, and I think this is the point now where I can say that they were a coach killer in this game, because Mike McCarthy, after years of being the Green Bay Packers head coach, has been fired. He is no longer the coach there, and Aaron Rodgers is now going to be playing under someone that's not Mike McCarthy for the first time in his career. And that's stunning. But I'm sure it's going to be the most popular job in the league when January hits. A lot of people are going to want it. And I think it's a big enough job that could pull some of the big name coaches from their positions, including I don't see why you couldn't rule out Nick Saban. I mean, why not? But I also think they're going to look at a lot of the young guys, like Lincoln Riley, that has been done very well on that college level in terms of his offensive scheming. So we'll see. I'm fascinated to see what Green Bay does, but in terms of what they do for the rest of the year, well, if I'm them, I would tank. But how happy would Green Bay fans be? I don't think they'll be very happy about that, and nor do I think Aaron Rodgers would be. I think he may have. There's reports out there that he may have tried to manipulate the look of how Mike McCarthy was coaching by like not going with his game plan and stuff, and that stuff is shitty. You don't want to hear that stuff. That might not even be true. I hope it's not. But maybe now that McCarthy's gone, maybe there's a fire that's lit under this team, and they may go on a run. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but maybe they can knock off some tough teams down the stretch. You never know. They have the Falcons, the Bears, the Jets, and the line. I mean, I guess so. Really, it's the Bears. The Bears are the only team that's like that feasibly can compete right now for the playoffs, and they could play spoiler next week. We'll see. Most disappointing team goes to the Colts, cause my God, the offense just looked broken in this game, and this was a team that was surging, that was going to have an amazing stretch run. It felt like it seemed that they were just on a collision course with the Texans to win this, to potentially try to overtake them in the division and win it. Now it's looking like they may not be able to do that. And I mean, their defense certainly stepped up. Of course, that was also against Cody Kessler, but my goodness, Colts, it just you suck the air out of your hype train, and now with the Texans and the Cowboys on deck next, I'm worried. I mean, I feel like this team is gonna go 6-8 now. If that's gonna be the performance that they're gonna put in every single week, I think that we've built enough trust with Frank Reich at this point that he could get this game plan going and maybe shock us a little bit. And maybe go on a better stretch down the road here, but I'm not gonna get too excited about this team right now. I'm gonna back off of my excitement level for them, and it's just disappointing. It really just it's just disappointing when, after it seemed like they finally fixed all their issues, that they lose to the Jaguars, who have not looked good at all this year. But finally, when they bench Blake Bortles, it looks like the defense wakes up, and Cody Kessler, again, not really having that great of a game, but hey, he did okay enough to win. So there you go. And the last team I want to talk about is the Carolina Panthers in terms of disappointing. And I mean, where can you begin? The defense was awful in the game against the Bucks. Cam Newton was not good in the game, and we all were talking about how it seemed like North Turner fixed Cam Newton and all that. That kind of went out the window with this game. The Buccaneers were getting pressure on Cam, which their rush defense or pass rush has not been awful this year, but it hasn't been that great, and they kind of dominated Newton at times, and even against the worst secondary in the NFL, they just could not get the job done in the passing game. And Christian McCaffrey, he had some good moments in the game, but all in all, just a disappointing effort. And they've ended up firing a few defensive assistant coaches in the game, and because of that game rather. And they are now looking at a hole that includes two Saints. They still have to face the Saints twice now. I mean, you thought that was going to be like to their benefit, that they could maybe overtake the division at one point. Now it's a deterrent, and they are looking at a 6-8. They have to go on the road again against the Browns, and it seems like the road is their enemy. And if they lose against that game, now you're staring at 6-9, and then you have the Falcons, who you never know. This team could feasibly go from 6-2 to 6-10. That's what in the world, Panthers? What are you doing? I have no more faith in this team. They gotta prove it to me again, and it's gonna have to start with this weekend and beating the Browns. Beat them, and then you have to go. I think you're hosting the Monday Night Football game. You face them. If you take down the Saints in the next two for the first matchup, and you beat the Browns, and you're looking at 8-6, then I'll have a little bit more faith in you. But right now, it's not looking like that, and things need to be fixed quickly. You're in utter panic mode at this point. Let's look at the standings for our picks now that we finished up with that. Oh, before we do that, let's do playoff stuff. So, as things stand right now, in their current being, you have the Chiefs, Patriots, Texans, Steelers, Chargers, Ravens in that order in the AFC. As the playoff seeds, the Rams, Saints, Bears, Cowboys, Seahawks, Vikings as the playoff seeds in the NFC. And then in the hunt, which a lot of people have been saying, why that's such a stupid term. I don't know. Whatever they call it, I'm fine with. I don't really get the understanding of like the frustration of people saying, "Oh, they're in the hunt." Someone needs to explain to me the frustration there by the general public. Anyways, currently the vying for an AFC playoff spot are the Dolphins, Colts, Broncos, Titans, and vying for an NFC spot is the Panthers, Eagles, Redskins, Buccaneers. I don't think, and I'm sure there's teams out there that I just mentioned that certainly are not going to make the playoffs. But I think that everyone that has been named in that playoff picture, whether they're in it or they're quote unquote in the hunt, I would say that that's all the teams that are going to be competing for the playoff from here on out. Only team I can think of is the Bengals would have to make a stretch run. They can only get 9 wins this season. The Browns and the Packers are their best they can do is get to 8 wins, and they could be 8-7-1. But that's not factoring in their schedules, and also having they have to have the whole league like fall apart around them in order to get into the playoffs. So those are miracle runs. And then, you even look at who I did mention, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do we really think that they are going to be in it? They have the Saints next. They have the Cowboys, or they have the Saints, Ravens, Cowboys, and then the Falcons. That is, if they have a winning record after that would be shocking. But impressive, but shocking. So the clinching scenarios this week, and I remember they used to post these on Tuesdays. Maybe I'm not remembering correctly or what, but not having this playoff picture has been kind of a hindrance to us here at the podcast. But as far as I know, the Chiefs can clinch a playoff spot with a win. They can't clinch the division yet because of the Chargers just being up their ass, really. They are really just trying to keep up with them, and I think there's a good feeling about them staying in it. But the Chiefs could clinch a playoff spot at the very least with a win against the Ravens. The Patriots can clinch the AFC East with a win over the Dolphins. Very, very likely that that's going to happen, but again, you never know, especially when they're playing in Miami. The Texans could clinch the AFC South with a win and a loss by the Titans, which I think is possible. And it's a little bit an extra scenario here, but it's very much possible, especially with the way they've been playing. My God, I should have put the Texans in the most surprising teams. They look like one of those teams that just you don't want to face in the playoffs. They're looking really good right now, the Texans, as they stand right now. As for the NFC, the only clinchy scenario that I've been brought attention to, at least, is the Saints. The Saints can clinch the division with a win over the Bucks, and that should do it. And that's the only really big scenario. I'm sure a win would just get them into the playoff spot as well. Well, what am I saying? I don't know what I'm saying anymore. A win's gonna do it. The win's gonna get them in. They're gonna clinch the playoff, a home field, for at least either the wild card round or the divisional round. We'll see how that plays out. I think they have a really good shot at the bye, but they had to overcome, I guess, their demon in the Bucks. That was their only loss before last Thursday. So we'll see what happens there. And right as we're about to get to the picks, look who has come in out of nowhere to join us for this pick
I am
segment.
here. I've been here the whole time.
That's true.
No,
You're
no. Listen, Chris.
okay. This Gocubs.
Okay, hello.
uh,
God damn it.
that was
Hello.
so poorly timed.
Okay, yeah, yeah. All right. So as I was driving home,
Okay.
right, there was a car in front of me for a few stop signs, a few lights, right.
Okay.
I look through the back of their car, and you know what's on? You know what's on the screen?
What's that?
Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas,
Okay.
the new one
The new one.
that just came out in theaters, that these people were watching in a car, presumably with a DVD. I looked online. DVD's not for sale yet.
Mmm.
These fuckers pirated a movie that hasn't been out on DVD yet just so they could watch it in the backseat of their fucking GMC Arcadia.
Why would they pirate something that's supposed to be so shitty?
I don't know. I don't know if it was just a preview or not because I only saw like a few, like a little bit of it. But how did they get it?
Are you are you absolutely sure it was the feature length film?
I'm not sure because it was only like a few minutes, but I don't know what else it would have been. It was way too long for a preview and
Mm,
way too few cuts for a preview.
right.
But I don't know what else it could have been. And I was really, really confused, and I still am.
Unless there's like a animated short that went with it,
Maybe?
or like that came out with like a DVD that recently came out for Disney. Or it is Disney, right? Or is it
No, it's Illumination.
or Well, yeah,
The
Illumination
Minions.
sometimes has it.
The Minions ones.
Huh. Well, controversy in Illinois. There you go.
Guess so.
This is a little weird.
Glad I
Um,
could be here.
yeah. Glad that you could make it. I like I was saying to you earlier, I did end up finishing the podcast, but since you are here now and I have a little bit of time still, um, I would like you to do the picks with me. Um, but before we do that, let me just quickly update you on the situation. So you've closed in on me a little bit
Okay,
from this past week.
cool. Wasn't expecting that, but
You got
let's go.
you went 10-6. I went 9-7,
All right.
and especially in a chaotic week, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So now the records stand at 114.75 for myself, 113.76 for you. You did lose a point because you guaranteed the Saints,
Yep.
but you stay with 1 point qualifier. I have 1 point qualifier, so right now the point total, which is what ends up mattering, is 40-38 is currently the score for our picks. In terms of our best teams, worst teams, we still both have the Rams as our top team. I'm 12-0. You're 11-1. You also have the Chargers and Seahawks at 10-2 as good teams. Well, my next best team has 3 losses, and it's a combination of Bears, Bengals, Chiefs, and a few other teams.
Nice.
Our worst teams at the moment.
Is the Titans? Let me guess.
No. Actually, for both of us, the Titans are moving up. For you, it's the Jaguars, my friend.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's right.
Jaguars are four and
Yeah, because
eight.
they actually fucking won this week
They actually won this week, so you're
and shut out Andrew Luck. I can't fucking deal with this team.
4-8, and then the Panthers are. I am 3-9, picking the
Yes.
Panthers right now, which is that clinches a losing record picking the Panthers. So there you go. Not a good year for me on that front. And then yeah, I think that kind of covers everything on that front. So let's dive into the game, shall we?
Let's.
We're going to start with the Thursday night football game between the Jaguars and Titans in the AFC South battle. The Titans are still in the wild card hunt while the Jaguars are looking to play spoiler. What do you have in this game, Gocubs?
I hate this matchup because they're two teams that I can't fucking figure out this year.
Yeah.
I think I sent a different saying to Chris earlier, but I think in this matchup I'm going to go with the Titans. The Titans had an off week last week, so they're going to have a good week this week.
Wow.
No, the Titans won last week, right?
They barely won.
They barely won.
They came back against the Jets.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to say they actually play well this week. So, Titans.
I think the defense that the Jaguars had against the Colts last week is here to stay. And Cody Kessler, he didn't play that great, but I think that they're gonna that they may never have beaten the Titans with Blake Bortles in the last 2 years, but they'll beat them with Cody Kessler. And I think that I think the defense is going to be huge, and I have no faith in the Titans in their current iteration to beat. I don't see them playing on a short week at the level in the past that they've played, especially with how close that was to the Jets. It was an ugly win for them. So I'm going Jaguars.
Damn it, I'm going back Jaguars. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm changing Jaguars. I changed it on the podcast this time, though.
Yeah. The Jaguars was your initial pick, and then you went to the Titans, and then back to
back to Jaguars.
Yeah. So yeah, Jaguars. We're sticking with them. Next up, the Buffalo Bills hosting the Jets. Bills are playing.
Almost.
The Bills are not.
I almost got this chaos right.
The Bills aren't playing too badly right now.
No.
Yeah, the Josh Allen's doing really well. He had over 100 rushing yards in the game, as well as his throwing touchdowns as well. There was a Hail Mary try that it was very, very close to a win. Could not pull it through, but they're taking on the Jets this week. Do they take care of business?
Yeah. I mean, like, the Jets aren't that good, and the Bills have shown that they aren't total shit. So I'm gonna go with the Bills in the home matchup. Why am I picking so much the Bills to win so much?
I give credit where credit is due. The Josh Allen's doing very well, and I think the defense as well for the Bills continues to do well. It continues to be the strength of their team. Their offensive weapons need to improve. That hopefully they can get improved in the draft, but they'll take care of business this week. I think I'm pretty confident in. So we'll go with them, Bills. Next up, the Panthers on a 4-game losing streak now go to Cleveland to take on the Browns. The Browns, of course, coming off a tough loss to the Texans. A little bit not really close. The Texans are a tough team to play for anyone. But the Panthers are just they're
on a 4-loss slide, and that sucks for them a lot. Two teams they probably should have beat in the Buccaneers and the Lions. Cam Newton not doing Cam Newton things and throwing 4 picks against one of the worst, if not the worst defense in the league.
The worst secondary, probably one of the worst secondaries in history.
Yeah. And he threw 4 interceptions, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
I want to believe the Panthers will do well. And it's especially in this matchup. Shit. Because I'm going to pick the Panthers, but I know I'm going to be wrong. Look, they need to funnel their offense through Christian McCaffrey like they have been. Their defense needs to step up, and they need to hope that some of their receivers will be able to step up, and Cam Newton will be able to throw to people, because Greg Olsen's going to be out. It's going to be hard for the Panthers. I'm still going to go with them, because they still need to play hard so that they can get into the playoffs, which is what I know they want to do.
They want to, but can they is the question. I was talking about this. This in the earlier portion of the podcast. I'm done with the Panthers. I'm over it. I think now that
understandable.
You're on a 4-game losing streak. You lost to the worst defense, and you played absolutely awful against them. The Browns. Greg Olsen's done for the season, which that fact I forgot about. The Browns. Yes, they lost badly to the Texans last week, but the Texans are. I would say that game said more about the Texans than the Browns, that the Texans are here. The Browns, their offense has been great the past few weeks. Their defense has been stepping up. I just think that at home they have a winning record at home, which is something that they haven't had in a while. I gotta go Browns, and it's my team chaos of the week, because I think the Panthers are on a skid that is dangerous for them. They're not making the playoffs, by the way, because
No.
because
Hell no.
the Saints are going to be there twice in the last 3 weeks. They still have to face the Falcons, which to be honest with you, when you have the whole division be playing as competitively as it has been, this team realistically and quite possibly can go 6-10. I have no faith in them. I'm going Browns in this one. Team chaos. Next up, the Falcons are going to Green Bay to take on the Mike McCarthy-less Packers. And this is their chance to see what the days without their former head coach will be like, while the Falcons look to step up in a big spot to get a big win, or the important win, just to make sure the record doesn't look that bad.
Just a win.
Yeah, a win.
Yeah.
What do you got for this one?
I think they are going to get that win. Teams don't really do well when their head coach has just been fired. At least from what I can glean, and obviously there's going to be like a step up, or at least like hopefully for Packers fans. No, I don't want to say that because you know what I mean.
Yes.
The Packers are going to have some trouble just getting adjusted with everything and maybe adapting. I know it's at home for them, but I still think the Falcons want to prove that they aren't total dog shit. Win this game, I'm going to go Falcons.
Yeah, this is a tough matchup this side. I ended up going with the Packers in this one just because I think the opposite sometimes with the head coaching changes. Sometimes like what happened with the Browns, where your next opponent after a head coaching fire is a fucking buzzsaw, and that was the Chiefs. But then they kind of started to compete in a lot of these games and started to win, and then you do have the case with like the Rams last year, where the special teams coordinator ended up going up against the Seahawks team that was playing well, or in 2016 rather, and that ended in a very ugly loss on Thursday night for them. Yeah, so I think it's a catch-22. I'm gonna go Packers though, just because they have Aaron Rodgers, and I feel like there's something within him that he is gonna awaken with the fact that Mike McCarthy's gone, and he's gonna be like, fuck everything. Now I'll show my real potential and just go.
He's gonna run the table, but it's gonna be one of those IKEA tables, and it's gonna be too late before he figures out how to put the table together.
That is an excellent analogy. Yeah, that's pretty spot on. I think with this. At least
Thank you. I'm glad I joined.
These are the spot on analogies that I've been missing in this pick segment.
Chris, special message.
Yes.
You're a fucking nerd.
Of course. I embrace that. The Indianapolis Colts are going to Houston to take on the Texans. This would have been potentially a de facto AFC South championship game, but with the Colts losing the way they have and the Texans rolling, a win and a Titans loss could put the Texans with the AFC South crown in hand.
Oh yeah.
So what do we got for this one, Gocubs?
The Texans are such a good team, Chris, and I'm really happy.
Of course.
I was not a Texans fan, and then and then JJ Watt became one of the best people in the state.
Yeah.
And now I'm a Texans fan.
Yes. Yeah. No. Deshaun Watson. I was so worried going into this year about if he'd perform well, and he's proving.
He's doing great.
Yeah, that he's an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, he's awesome. And they're gonna continue this, and just fucking destroy the Colts. The Colts, have been having a good run. I don't think that they're going to be able to overtake the Ravens in the wild card race.
I agree.
So that is where I'm going with on that front. So yeah,
Uh,
Texans.
did you want to add a qualifier to that?
This was my lock, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And
Okay.
I'm so confident. I'm gonna lock it.
Yeah, okay. Just gotta get it in there. Yeah, yeah, I'm going Texans too. And I was saying earlier how high I was on the Colts and how that kind of a lot of that was erased with the Jaguars' performance. But, um, I just think that the Texans are at another level right now. They're, I think, among the class of the AFC as things stand right now.
Yeah.
And
One of the top 3 teams of the conference.
yeah, and I would say that I would say it's the Chiefs, Patriots, Texans. And I think that there's a steep drop off between the Texans and Steelers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so I would say Texans are going to win it, and they'll potentially clinch it if the Jaguars win. And I think that they'll be fun in the playoffs. I'm looking forward to their appearance.
Yeah.
Next up, the Ravens. Speaking of the Ravens, gonna go to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. A tough matchup for Baltimore and Lamar Jackson, who's been on a nice run and has been taking care of business. But can they take down the Kansas City team? And rushes a lot, yes.
Yeah. I almost chose this as my team chaos. Actually,
it's close. It's close.
It is because like the thing about Kansas City is that their games are still pretty close. Losing their star running back, who I'm not going to name, has hindered them. I think a little bit, but not so much because Spencer Ware is still capable. They just signed Chandrick West, who knows the playbook. I think that those two are going to together be fine in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. But the real thing that they have is Patrick Mahomes' arm and their receivers' hands.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah. So I'm still gonna go with Kansas City, especially at home. If this was in Baltimore, I might have gone the other way, but Kansas City.
By the way, I remember the last time these two teams played, the Ravens pulled out those garish yellow pants. Oh, that was fun. But no, I agree. I go with Chiefs, but I do agree on the point of I think it's a throwback to 2016 when they didn't have Hunt and that it was that they used the running back by committee with the Ware and West, and it worked for them. And I still think it's gonna hurt them not having that in the backfield. Off completely for on-field reasons, not for the off-field reasons. But I think that I think it's gonna work out that they'll continue to do well. I think as long as Patrick Mahomes is playing and the offensive line is able to protect him, they have so many weapons that they'll be able to overcome that loss and they'll keep rolling. And again, all the respect to the Ravens, I think that if they were to win this game, I think the Steelers should be fucking shitting their pants about losing the AFC North.
Honestly, the rest of the schedule, Steelers have a couple easy teams like the Raiders left.
Yeah.
But the Ravens do too.
Yeah.
I do legitimately think it's possible that the Ravens could win the North.
Yeah, Steelers, they have left the Raiders, Patriots, Saints, and Bengals. The Ravens have the Chiefs, Buccaneers, Chargers, and then the Browns. I think that both. It seems like both scenarios would pull 2-2 records, but like, I think all it's gonna take is the Ravens winning a game that they shouldn't, and the Steelers maybe still going 2-2, or maybe even losing to a game they shouldn't, aka maybe even the Raiders. Because to be honest with you, you never know. I feel like the Raiders played the Chiefs very close. It wasn't just that the Chiefs were missing their running back. I felt like that was a kind of a nice showing by the Raiders last Sunday.
Oh yeah.
So
that's kind of why I was thinking that the Ravens would be able to win, because the Ravens are obviously much better than the Raiders.
Oh yes. So you never know. It's gonna be a close race. But I'm still going with the Chiefs here. But prove us wrong, Ravens. It'll be interesting. Next up, the Patriots go to Miami to take on the Dolphins, and this is the place that the Patriots always struggle. It seems, but
This is the place where they just fuck up
do you
a
think it's a
lot.
fuck up here?
Yeah. Uh, if they're gonna fuck up at all, it's going to be here. I can't reasonably predict that though,
Yeah, fair enough.
because the Patriots are like they're still good.
Yeah,
They're obviously not like I definitely don't think they're the top team in the AFC. I think the Chiefs and Texans, maybe even Chargers, are all better than them.
fair enough.
Uh, but they're gonna beat the Dolphins, I think.
Yeah, I have confidence that they'll beat the Dolphins too. I think that the Patriots, they're starting to get healthy. They're starting to play with a little bit more conviction than they were earlier in the year. Which is completely as expected because they just start picking up some big wins in the winter. So there's a chance they may drop this one, but part of the reason they lost last year was that Gronk wasn't there. And I think Gronk will be back this time, so we'll be good. Um,
Although Gronk didn't have a target in the last game
that which is
or a
kind
reception, one of the two. Hold on, let me look up Gronkowski stats.
of I
Gronk stats.
yeah bring that up, but it's one of those things that like makes you wonder about the future of Gronkowski because he's still going to be a playmaker, but I wonder if he's going to be like
Okay,
he's going to
three
retire now.
three receptions for 26 yards,
Yeah, well,
which is
he was in it.
abysmal for him.
He was he was in the game though.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said though, there's been rumors that he may consider hanging it up after this year.
Right.
The lack of targets and lack of production might be part of that reasoning, but we'll see. Next up, the New Orleans Saints going to Tampa to take on the Buccaneers. Buccaneers coming off a nice win. Saints coming off a devastating loss. And the Bucks, or at least the Saints rather, are trying to avenge the loss to the Bucks from Week 1. Will they do it in this game?
Yeah. The Saints really have to play hard to one, like not lose 2 games in a row,
Right.
which would be really bad for a team trying to get the number 1 overall seed for the playoffs, and just like show that they're still the team to beat in the NFC. They are now a game behind the Rams, who they have beaten, so they just need to hope that the Rams lose one and they win out.
Yeah.
And the Saints they are a magical team right now. Except against the Cowboys, obviously. But
yeah,
even my lock disappointment. But
yeah.
I think that the Saints are still gonna do their thing, and Tampa Bay is going to reel from it.
Yeah, I'm going Saints, and it's right now as things stand, the Buccaneers are still like peaking in the playoff picture, but their schedule is Saints, Ravens, Cowboys, and then Falcons again. I don't see them winning a lot of those games, if any. But the Saints, I do think that when you have games like that, it kind of reminded me of the Eagles last year where they lost that game to the Seahawks, where it just didn't seem like it was their night. It was just not the Saints' night, and I think that they'll be fine down the stretch. So I'm going Saints.
Yep.
Next up, the Giants going to Washington to take on the Redskins, and the one team's coming off of a win, a big upset win. And the Redskins in the meantime are coming off a tough loss and now starting Mark Sanchez against a New York team that's not his former team. What do you got, Gocubs?
That's really convoluted to say that. I guess I'm gonna pick the Giants. Like, Giants coming off a good win against the good Bears team, and the Redskins on right now their third string quarterback. The Washington has just had a terrible strain of injuries over the past like few years, honestly. But this year, it's just hit them. It's hit them really hard, and I think they've reached the point where they're not going to be able to recover from that.
Yeah, and it seemed like such a strong year was starting to build for them, and it just fell apart, and it was mostly because of the injuries. Yeah, I'm going Giants, and I think someone made up a good point to me the other day. That it is kind of surreal to have the Giants go out there and 99% of the time have the two best playmakers on the field every single time, and it's because with Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I'm gonna go Giants, and I just think that they are right now they are probably in better condition to win games than the Redskins at this moment. So
Yeah.
I see them. I see the team more of a as like a I see the Giants more of a team that's closer to 500 than they are to the bottom of the league. Uh, in this current iteration, I think they're going to be able to
Uh,
compete, but I don't see them uh, pulling any miracles or anything like
oh
that.
no,
Not
that
the
they could make the playoffs if the uh if the Cowboys and Eagles shit themselves and the Giants win out.
right, yeah.
But that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. I think I'll take one miracle on Sunday, and
One miracle Bears win, and that's all.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's probably all it's gonna take for me. Um, Next up, the Bengals go to Los Angeles. I almost said San Diego. That's a whoa. To
Couple
take on
years.
to take on the Chargers. And it is Jeff Driscoll getting his second start. I don't to be honest, I don't know much about what happened to the Bengals last week. I just know that the Broncos pretty much took care of business. And I would suspect that the Chargers do the same. What about you?
Yeah. Chargers are really good, Chris.
Yeah. I was glad I was wrong about that. I was really
Yeah.
glad that they won on Sunday night. Or
Granted,
yeah,
they kind of won on like a really bullshit thing.
there was some bullshit shit. Yes.
It was really funny bullshit, but
Well, no, yeah. I mean, the false start stuff though is completely all on the Steelers.
oh yeah.
But yes, no, I think that it's better to be lucky than to be good, and I think that the Chargers are very good, and they got lucky on
They got lucky.
Sunday,
Yeah.
so it's good news for them. They'll be good. I think that they are a win away from the playoffs at least right now. Next up, the Broncos are going to San Francisco to take on the Niners. Broncos are trying to sneak into the playoffs here. They have a pretty easy stretch: Niners, Browns, Raiders, Chargers. Chargers being their toughest opponents left. Very well could get in. But you gotta play these games, of course. The 49ers, of course, are on the bottom of the league. We're just limited last weekend. What we got in this game?
The yeah, I think the Broncos are gonna be fine in this game. I don't know if they're gonna be able to make the playoffs, just given the current state of the Chargers, who pretty much have the fifth seed locked.
Right.
If not the division, depending on how Kansas City does. But um, the uh, yeah, the Broncos are gonna win this game for sure.
The only reason why I keep the door open for the Broncos right now is that the Ravens have two tough games left with the Chargers and Chiefs that could
Yes.
put them at 9-7, and that it's a really easy schedule for the Broncos to go 10-6. Why I'm saying that they could go 10-6 is because they beat in the Chargers before, and then the next game that they have is at home. Um,
Yeah.
so I think the Ravens and Broncos are the most likely of the remaining AFC teams to be the ones competing for the sixth seed at this point, as things stand
I
right
can agree
now.
with that.
Please let it be one of those two teams. Let's not. I would take the Colts. I wouldn't take please no Dolphins or Titans though.
No, I don't know how the Dolphins are still relevant, but they are.
Yeah, and
And the Titans are gonna fucking get their way in again, aren't they?
it better not
Remember
be the
when
case.
last year the Titans and Bills were the 2 wildcard
I
teams?
feel like we talk about that almost every
Because it's wild, isn't it?
podcast.
Like, that's not a thing that should have
It
happened.
shouldn't have happened, but yet again, it brought
Thank you, Andy Dalton, for
yeah for ruining it
starting
for us.
one.
No, the Titans at least they brought a nice upset to us, but then got spanked.
Yep.
All right, so yeah, I'm going. Wait, shit, what game? Okay, Broncos. Yeah, I'm going Broncos as well. In this one. Next up, the Lions go to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. By the way, this is the first road game for the Lions since Chicago, so it's been a while.
Really?
Yeah,
I was at that game.
yeah. That was the last time they were on the road. Last few games they've been at home. Cardinals coming off a very nice win over the Green Bay Packers. What do we got for this game?
I don't think that the Cardinals are a total lost cause in this game. Unfortunate for them, they had to put Christian Kirk on IR along with a couple other players, and that kind of signals like, okay, we know we're done for the season. They're technically not eliminated from playoff contention, which is wild.
Yeah, that'll be done.
Yeah, but they know they're not gonna do anything with it. That being said, I think that the Lions, kind of like the Falcons, have we want to like prove we want to prove we don't totally suck. So I think that the Lions are going to be in that mode where the Cardinals are in. Yeah, okay. We're done. We're kind of done for the season mode.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the Lions.
I'm gonna defer on this one. I'm gonna go Cardinals. It's at home, and the Cardinals defense is playing spectacularly. I think that the fact that the Lions have to go on the road again, I think that's gonna be something that's gonna be taken it back. And the Lions still have some key injuries that I'm not completely confident in them. They've played close with every opponent, but I do think they play up to. I think the Lions are just one of those teams that plays close with everybody, and
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Cardinals, especially for the fact to get rid of all these stupid rumors that Steve Wilkes could be on the hot seat and fired after his first year as head coach, I think will rise to the challenge.
Don't fucking hire someone and then fire them after the first year when your team was kind of like doomed that year anyway.
Yeah, it's Niners. We're looking at you, Niners. I'm definitely going Cardinals.
I don't think Chip Kelly was that great of a coach.
Well, no, I know. I'm not saying that any of them were good coaches, but let's not hire them in the first place. So that's going to be
that's true.
Your direction to fire them after 1 year. I'm gonna go Cardinals on this one. Next up, the Eagles go to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Big game for Dallas after such a huge win over the Saints. They get a chance to really put a solidifying mark on an NFC East title and potentially lock up home field advantage, at least in the wild card. What do we got for this one, Gocubs?
The Cowboys are going to do their thing and upset a lot of Philadelphia fans. Yeah, like the Cowboys are good. I don't want to say that because that's definitely not what I said. Like, at probably most recent 3 podcasts ago.
Yeah,
where I called them garbage.
By the way, I admitted it earlier in the podcast. I would like to hear what you think. Do you think a first round pick was worth giving up for Amari Cooper now?
I'm still gonna say no.
Really? Because the reason why I said yes now was just because how it completely changed the direction of this season. Yeah. That trade single-handedly changed the direction of the season. They had one tough game against the Titans that didn't work out, and then they have been rolling.
Yeah, that is true.
That's why I feel like it's worth it, but I understand if it's not. If it's too early to verdict.
I think it's still early. Like that's kind of just how Amari Cooper is.
Right.
is that you think that he's like on a he gets on a hot streak and like plays really well, but then there are games where he doesn't.
But you know what? Yeah, I mean we could get into the debate, but I feel like part of it was that the Raiders were not using him correctly. That
Well, that could be true.
I feel like that's it, I don't know. The last few weeks have made me just change the view of the Cowboys fucked up that trade too. The Raiders fucked up another big trade this season. Yeah, but
uh,
that's just my view of it.
yeah, I mean, I am all for shitting on the Raiders right now. Um, yeah, I still don't know if first round was worth it.
We'll see. Yeah,
We'll see. We'll see how they fare. Honestly, I don't think I would be able to answer that until next year, just to
that's
see how
fair.
they improve from here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you get your like boost, but was it for short term game or can you extend it to long term game gain with him?
Right. Like, can we actually have like not just have this year be such a turnaround success? Can we have next year be a successful like dominating year? Like have it return to what the 2016 Cowboys were? You know, like can we get it back to those levels? Because this defense at the very least can compete with the best of them. And
Oh yeah,
the
they did last week.
yeah, and I think that I I would agree with you too because on the front that the Cowboys offense wasn't amazing last week either. Maybe that part of it was the Saints defense stepping up
Mm-hmm.
as well, or has been stepping up over the last few weeks. So yeah, I think it's fair to kind of take a look back and still evaluate. It just feels like there's something different about this Cowboys team since
Oh,
Amari Cooper.
there for sure is.
Yeah,
Obviously, the coaching change in Amari Cooper definitely helped with that.
yeah.
But
I think so. Um, the let's yeah I'm also gonna go Cowboys too, and I feel so confident about that that I'm guaranteeing it.
awesome.
Because I Eagles felt like a dead team on Monday, despite the fact that they won. It just there was not the same energy in the stadium. There's not the same energy especially the defense just seems like it's not has not been there this year. I know the secondary's been bad, but even like the defensive line didn't play that great in that game, and yeah, there's just some things that I'm not gonna look high on the Eagles right now until maybe they beat a team like the Cowboys at the moment. So, but I'm
Yeah.
guaranteeing the Cowboys in this one. Next up,
I'm really
Steelers.
mad the Cowboys are playing well, by the way.
Fair enough. I get that. The Steelers go to Oakland, take on the Raiders. Raiders almost did something that we did not expect them to do. They played close with the Chiefs on last Sunday. The Steelers are arguably a much worse team than the Chiefs. And what could happen here? Could the Raiders pull an upset, or are the Steelers going to take care of business?
I mean, I don't know. Actually, thinking about it, I don't think the Raiders are going to win. Look, the Steelers and the Chargers game, the Chargers played super well, and that was a testament to the Chargers. I don't think that means that the Steelers are bad because the Steelers, but fucked up a ton off siding so much.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they're going to have that problem again against the Raiders.
Yeah,
Hard
one thing to be concerned about is the James Conner is not going to be in this game.
right, which is super unfortunate for both the Steelers and James Conner, with how great of a season James Conner's been having. Out 4 to 6 weeks potentially for Conner, I think.
I did not hear that long.
That's what I read.
Yeah, and if that's the case, I would be very worried about
I
this
would be
game.
very worried if I were the Steelers. This will be a test for the Steelers to see if I think Samuels is their next running back.
I don't even know. It's
yeah.
But to me, like you heard Carter's name last year when he was behind Bell. I didn't.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about Samuels.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see if the Steelers team can step up with James Conner's absence.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they will have a fine week against this team.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think what happened was that the Samuels came in and he did score a touchdown, but I think it was part of it was like they were on like the 5-yard line or whatever. I am I'm gonna go Steelers. I think there is some room to be hesitant because I feel like one of the main players that have been such a significant part of your team all season long and a big talking point of, oh, this is why we didn't need Bell. I did not have him now. Let's see what you can do. But I think you take care of the Raiders at the very least. If he's out against the Patriots, then I'd really like to see what you do. So.
I had something else, but then I didn't.
That's fair. Steelers, I will go as well. Next, Sunday Night Football. Sean McVay versus Matt Nagy. Rams versus Bears. A clash of offense versus defense. It's going to be a good one. Obviously Bears are coming off a tough loss, but there is still some room for optimism. Could have just been one of those games like it was with the Saints on Thursday. You never know. The Rams, they're on a hot streak right now, but will that be halted in Chicago?
Listen. So the Bears are 8-4 now, still the 3rd seed in the playoff, the playoff race, where I believe that they will stay.
Mm-hmm.
How am I gonna
justify this?
How am I gonna explain and justify all? Giants loss was tough. Trubisky was not in.
Right.
I swear to God, Trubisky will start this game.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that you gotta get.
That's the biggest thing. I'm pretty sure he's going to.
I'll double check for you as you talk.
Yeah, they were saying like Trubisky would have started against the Giants if it were a playoff game. He was well enough to where he could have done that. I don't think that the Bears or really anyone believed that the Giants were going to play so well, so they just went with Daniel, who almost won. The Bears, every loss they've had this season has still been within a field goal or 4 points, 3 or 4 points. Either way, really, really close. Against the Packers, the Patriots, the Dolphins, and now the Giants. 2 of those teams make sense. 2 of them don't. So I think that the Rams are going to be the biggest test for the Bears to see, hey, are the Bears a playoff contender? Not just making the playoffs, but going far in the playoffs. If the Bears can do well against the Rams, the Bears can make the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, am I wrong in saying that?
No, I mean, because everyone says that defense wins championships. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Bears Cowboys in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah. So I'm gonna team chaos and pick the Bears over the Rams. The home field advantage will help them. Trubisky will hopefully be back. Pretty sure he will be. The defense will show which one of them is better.
By the way, Gocubs, you know how a few weeks ago we established that you have never picked against the Jaguars until like the Steelers game? You have yet to pick against the Bears.
Have I not?
You have not picked against the Bears.
I guess I've just team chaos the Bears all the time.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there hasn't been a lot of games where they needed to be team chaos, though. They've been the favorite a lot.
Yeah, but like I definitely team chaos them against the Patriots.
Yeah.
And I think the Packers week 1.
Yes, well, we both did that.
Yeah, we both did. And then now the Rams. And the rest of them I like legitimately felt that the Bears have that the Bears like
we're the better team.
They're clearly a good team this year.
Yeah.
They've had a really easy schedule.
Yeah.
And I fucking believe in this team, Chris.
I was just pointing it out because I felt like it was.
No, I don't feel bad about this. I was confused about the Jaguars one.
Yeah.
This one, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely do. I think I think that the Bears. I really want to have faith in the Bears. I do. I have a undefeated streak on the line here for the Rams. So that's this is the tough part. I think this is the last one because I think that for the Rams they have this team, but then next week, shit, I'm gonna forget who they have now down the stretch. Give me 1 second here. I'm just trying to formulate it in my head what else they have left. I know they have the Eagles next, and then the Cardinals, and then the Niners. That should all be wins. I would pick them in all of those games. The question, but this one's the biggest toss up for me. But I have to go with the Rams. I have to go with the more experienced coach in this one. I have to go with the offense that has been high flying and basically making all the defenses that they face look like utter rubbish. But this is also the toughest defense that they've had to face all year. It's gonna be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. It's a great spot for Chicago to get this publicity and get this show the world how good this Bears team is. If they get this win, I'm very confident that they're in the playoffs. If they don't get this win, I would be concerned. I'll just put it like that. I would be concerned about the Bears' chances in the for making the playoffs. I'm talking about not how they would fare in the playoffs, but we'll talk about that later.
Like seriously, just like actually making the playoffs, you would.
I would be concerned.
8-5. I guess we'll see how the Vikings do.
It's the Vikings, and I'm not counting out Aaron Rodgers yet against the Bears.
Yeah.
There's no way that knowing how the history with Aaron Rodgers and the Bears, I'm not counting them out. I need to see how the Packers do this week, particularly.
Right. Okay.
Next up.
I don't believe you, but okay.
Well, that's how I feel. I hope to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
But this is just a gut feeling. Vikings at Seahawks. Speaking of the Vikings, they're going to Seattle. If the Bears do start stacking wins here, they need this win more than anything. Otherwise, they're going to be out of it. This is a big game for the Seahawks as well. They could further solidify themselves in the 5 wild card seed. And what do you think is going to happen in this one?
The Vikings have had a super tough schedule, especially since the Bears game, facing the Patriots. Who did they face? They've just faced the Patriots since the Bears game, right?
They faced the Packers and the Patriots.
Packers, which they won, and then they faced the Patriots, which they lost to. The Seahawks are so much better of a team than I was, and like both sides of the ball are like doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And that rushing that the Seahawks have,
mm-hmm.
Is something to pay attention to.
Yeah.
With the home field advantage, this one I did change.
Okay.
So it's solidly from earlier after I thought about it more.
Okay.
With that rushing, with that home field advantage, I think the Seahawks are gonna win this game.
Yeah, I'm going Seattle too. It's
7 wins Seahawks team. Not what I was expecting at this point.
Yeah, they are playing outstanding football. I really think that they're starting to find their groove. I am no longer really a doubter of them, and they have the Vikings this week. Then they go on. I always have to think about this for a second because I'll have a lot of these memorized. I just have to remember specifically the order in which they've played opponents.
Seahawks are 49ers week 15.
Okay, yeah, so they face the 49ers and then they face the Chiefs and then they face the Cardinals after that. So
yes.
I think that they have a very the Chiefs are going to be the hiccup I think for them, but outside of that, I mean, although that is at home and it's in a tough place to play, so I'm not going to even rule out that being a victory for them, but they have a relatively easy schedule, and I feel very good that they'll beat the Vikings on Monday night, and that's going to help the Bears' cause whether they lose or win on Sunday night.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the Seahawks. And that does it. So I started the podcast with saying that we had 5 disagreements. We have 4 after you changed the Monday Night Football. Yeah. So we have 4 disagreements. 2 of which were the Team Chaos.
Our respective Team Chaoses.
Yeah, and the other ones are just shitty games that could really go either way.
Sure.
So a lot of interesting stuff going on, and
this is probably going to be the week that decides like who wins overall, because I think this is the most varied or like toss-up week we have had.
Yeah, and it's a lot of great matchups this week, a lot of close matchups. So it's just a tough week to pick. So we'll see how it all ends up playing out.
Yeah.
Do you, I by the way, I want to backtrack here for a second. We were talking about the Bears earlier. I think the Bears are a great team. My concern is more so with the fact that what happened with the Giants last week could very easily happen again. I think that you never know what could happen, and especially with the Bears' history with facing teams like the Packers and Vikings, I would be worried if they don't get this game.
You say, Chris, my only thing to that, you say Bears history. This team is no the team it was the past 2 years.
Sure, but I'm not gonna count out the teams that have always been in the division race, and certainly the ones that have the star players like Rodgers there. I'm pretty sure if I had to pick the game today, I would pick the Bears over the Packers.
Yeah.
But I am just saying that I have some concerns, because if they allowed the Giants to nearly beat them the way they did, and they needed a miracle to win that game, how can I really super trust them to win out the way outside of this Rams game, to win out the rest of their schedule? I don't know if I can completely trust them. If they beat the Rams, I'll completely change my attitude on that front. If they don't, I think I have a right to at least be skeptical of them.
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
For the just for a few more weeks, and if they beat the Packers and they beat the Niners, I think this team only needs 2 wins to clinch a playoff spot, and I think that the wins are there, but they need to take them. That's just my thing. You know, but I feel like it's.
We are entering the final quarter of the season.
I know, and that's why I talk about the Bears, and I talk about the Chargers too. The Chargers they've relieved my pressure a little bit, but those are the 2 teams I've been talking about that I've been wanting to see make the playoffs because of the respective droughts that they each have. The Chargers not as much of a drought as the Bears, but just these are teams that deserve to get a shot at the playoffs in their current iteration, and so I'm hoping that the next 4 weeks treats them well. And that they're able to take care of business, and also the Ravens too, because the Ravens are also, I think, have the same amount of years that they've been out of it. No, I think they were in it a year later after the Chargers got their last playoff berth. But whatever, regardless, all these teams that have not been in like 4 or 5 years, I would like to just see them get back in it. Just to keep on having that parity, especially the Bears, who haven't been in since 2010, was it?
Yeah, 2010, 2011 season.
Yeah. So, that's why this is around the time I get really stressed out about that stuff. But I'm very excited. It's gonna be this weekend in particular is gonna be fun. I'm super excited. Next week, you want to do fantasy? By the way, go fantasy with Gocubs.
Go fantasy with Gocubs. Okay, so you're probably starting the playoffs this weekend if you have a 3-week playoff. If not, you already started them. In which case, this might not be able to help you. But my big advice is to just look at the waiver wire for your remaining, for like specific players' remaining schedule. If they have like a lot of like easy games left, like for example, Russell Wilson, who week 16 faces the Chiefs, week 15 faces the 49ers, and this week has a little bit of a tougher matchup against the Vikings, but still at home. Like Russell Wilson won't be available on waivers, but like you get the idea. If they have like a really good playoff schedule, you're gonna want them on your team.
Right.
So look at their current schedule, love their current schedule, and do whatever it is you need to do to deal with their current schedule, because that's going to be the big thing in the end.
Yeah. Broncos players too, I would say.
Roethlisberger?
Broncos players.
Broncos. Yes.
With the way they're scheduled too. Philip Lindsay, if you have him, obviously you're going to start him
Philip
anyway.
Lindsay. But Jesus Christ, I can't believe how good of a player he is.
Great story, really great story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that covers it. I brought it up at the end of the previous recording that I did. But next week I would love to see if we could do some bowl predictions. As bowl season comes into light, and we know not nearly the amount that we do about the NFL as we do, not nearly enough about college football as we do in the NFL. So we're gonna bullshit our way into these picks, but I totally want to do it. And in the meantime, I'm picking Army to win this weekend.
Oh, all right.
But my dad was in the Navy, so go Navy, beat Army. So.
I didn't know your dad was in the Navy.
Yeah, just for a little bit. Not anything, no combat or anything like that. Yeah, and I think that takes care of it. Anything else that you'd like to add that you may have missed earlier that you want to talk about? That anything football wise that comes to mind for you?
Not in particular.
All right. Well then. With that being said, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and thank you, Gocubs, for coming in the last segment here, jumping in. You got it.
Yep.
And thank you all again. Be good to one another. Be kind to one another.
By the way, hold on, real quick. Sorry, want to add this, Chris. I'm in a really positive mood tonight. Chris, you are one of my closest friends. I really appreciate all that you do and the stuff that we can do together, even when I'm like saying, okay, I can't do this, but now I can, but I can do it in like 15 minutes. You are super flexible, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. There wasn't a lot happening tonight, so it was definitely it was a good night to kind of be able to have that flexibility, but no worries at all on that front. I'm good. I just because I like having you involved in the podcast as much as you can, and even if you can't make it, you can't make it. But if you are, I'll see if I can make adjustments. I missed you on the first part of it, but I think that it's okay that I feel like the picks are the most important part that you got yourself in here for that. So, glad to have you aboard. We'll be back next week with week 15 picks, potential maybe bowl picks. I'm gonna harp on this. I really want to do it, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye bye.